Discover 7 spine-chilling true stories of haunted moments exposed by Sinister rain ambience. The wind howled like a tortured soul, rattling windows and shaking the very foundation of Lisa's modest home. With each gust, she could feel a creeping dread creeping in, wrapping around her like a cold, clammy blanket. Outside, torrential rain lashed against the walls, both a comfort and a curse, as if the storm wanted in to invade her sanctuary and devour her and her 7-year-old daughter, Emma. The flickering streetlights threw jagged shadows that danced ominously against the walls, mirroring the turmoil swirling within her mind. How would they survive yet another week without money? The weight of the thought threatened to crush her. Huddled on the couch with Emma nestled against her, Lisa caught a glimpse out the window. The shadows outside seemed to shift and twist, moving unnaturally, as whispers crawled beneath the roar of the storm. Just a trick of the mind, she told herself. Old pipes groaning, wind sneaking through. But despite her rationalizing, a gut feeling simmered deep within her. A sense that stealing glances wasn't enough. She needed to know. Then came the ominous laughter, high-pitched and childlike, echoing from the darkness. It was a sound that chilled her blood, a sound she knew didn't belong to Emma. A sudden surge of panic clawed at Lisa's throat. She felt trapped. Was it delusion or reality? The laughter faded, transforming into an uneasy silence punctuated only by the endless pounding of rain. Tonight felt different. It was like the storm wasn't just a storm. It was alive, hunting. Her thoughts drifted to Mr. Henderson, their neighbor. He always kept his yard pristine and was quick to help anyone in need. Perhaps he could offer support. With a trembling hand, she opened the door to let him in, the oppressive atmosphere shifting the moment he crossed the threshold. His smile felt a touch too wide, and the glimmer in his eyes sent a ripple of uneasiness down her spine. "Heard strange noises from the wall," he said, stepping closer. "You know, I came to make sure you and Emma are safe." As he settled into her living room, Lisa's instincts screamed. The once cozy space turned into a trap, her body tense as she tried to appear grateful. The rain howled louder, beating against the roof with desperate fury. The shadows lengthened, creeping toward them as Mr. Henderson remained perched on her sofa, a watchful sentinel. Where was the comfort she sought? Distant thuds echoed outside, a chilling suggestion of unseen children playing in the torrential downpour, playing where no children should be. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The laughter, once sporadic, now intensified, creeping closer, circling them like wolves around a wounded deer. Lisa's heart raced as she turned to Emma, blissfully unaware in her sleep, and felt a chill settle deep within her bones. Mr. Henderson's too genial demeanor only seemed to harden around the edges now. Was he the protector he claimed to be, or was he part of the shadows that whispered instead of warning? The silence stretched, broken only by the heavy rain and her own panicked breathing. Then it stopped. The laughter disappeared, leaving an oppressive vacuum of dread. Lisa felt it. Eyes were watching. Buried in shadows, darkness thrived, hungry and patient. Her heart thundered in her chest. The comforting notion of security was dissolving, and she stood on the precipice of panic, a reality that, if not confronted, might devour everything she held dear. What dark truth lurked just outside her door, waiting for the storm to unveil it? The tension hung in the air, thick and suffocating. Lisa's gaze darted between Mr. Henderson and the flickering candle, casting distorted shadows on the wall. His smile, wide and unyielding, felt like an iron trap, each second stretching into a minute. Outside, the storm had quieted to a sinister lull, but the atmosphere inside felt charged, electric with unspoken fear. "Are you sure everything's all right, Lisa?" he asked, tilting his head slightly, the smile still planted on his face. It made her skin crawl. Yes, of course. Just a long night, she forced out, her voice quivering, and hoped he couldn't decipher her fear. Emma stirred, her brow furrowing in sleep. A sudden crash of thunder rattled the house, and the lights flickered. Lisa's heart leaped. In that moment, she swore she saw shadows shift in the corners of the room, twisting into figures that melted away the moment she tried to focus. "Let me read to her," Mr. Henderson suggested, the sweetness in his tone masking something far more sinister. Children love stories during storms. He leaned forward, his eyes gleaming as if the opportunity excited him. "No!" The word escaped Lisa's lips before she even processed it. She clutched Emma tighter, her breath coming in shallow bursts. A silence swept in, heavy and suffocating. The only sound was the patter of rain resuming its ferocity outside, wrapping around the house like fingers intent on prying it apart. Then, from somewhere beyond the walls, the laughter returned closer and more menacing. Lisa's eyes widened. "Did you hear that?" she asked, panic flaring anew. Mr. Henderson's eyes narrowed, his lips curling into a smirk. Felt wrong. All of it felt wrong. He leaned closer, inching into her personal space, and with a conspiratorial whisper said, "Let me show you something." Before she could react, he darted to the window, peering out as though scanning for something. "No, someone. What are you doing?" she demanded, adrenaline spiking through her veins. "It's nothing to be afraid of unless you let it." His words sent icy fingers crawling down her spine. She locked eyes with Emma, still oblivious, the little girl's innocence a stark contrast to the tension crowding the room. Lisa's instincts roared for her to get Emma away from Mr. Henderson, to get her out of their home and into safety. As if that thought summoned it, the laughter crescendoed outside, now punctuated by small, rhythmic taps against the walls, like the sound of tiny hands trying to claw at the insides of her home. Lisa grabbed Emma, shaking her gently. "Wake up, sweetheart. We need to go. Now." Emma stirred slowly, eyelids fluttering. Mr. Henderson turned, his demeanor shifting in an instant. "Where are you going?" "Storms can be tricky," he said, his voice suddenly low and dark. "You wouldn't want to get caught out there, would you?" In that moment, Lisa realized. The kindness had been a facade, a mask hiding something far more sinister. Suddenly, the front door slammed open, flung by an unseen force, rain spiraling in, cold and sharp, drenching the floor. A cluster of dark figures stood at the threshold, their laughter blending with the storm mocking, beckoning. "Join us," they whispered, a chorus of taunting voices. Lisa's heart raced. Terror wrapped around her, paralyzing her. She felt the warmth of Emma at her side, and any hint of safety was swept away by the tide of dark emotions threatening to drown them both. "Stay back," Lisa yelled, her voice trembling with defiance. But deep down, she knew they were outnumbered and that somewhere in the chaos, decisions would have to be made. A choice between what to face and what to abandon. And then, she felt it a heavy pull, a whisper that said she could give in. But even as that tempting darkness beckoned, another part fought against it, the primal urge to survive. What would she choose when the storm's fury turned its gaze fully upon them? The shadows swirled, and the flickering candlelight danced nervously, illuminating the fear etched on Lisa's face. Rain lashed against the windows, echoing the cacophony of laughter that echoed within the walls. The interior of the house felt alive, pulsing with a dark, breathless energy, pulling at the edges of her sanity. "Join us," they chanted again, their voices a grotesque melody. Instinctively, Lisa backed away, dragging Emma closer to her chest, desperate to shield her from the impending horror lurking in the ethereal darkness. "Lisa, it's just the storm," Mr. Henderson crooned, but his face twisted, the polite mask slipping to reveal something jagged and raw beneath. "You really should listen. They just want to play." "No," Lisa shouted, a wild panic now coursing through her limbs. She dashed for the door, hoping to push past the figures that had materialized. But they seemed to stretch and fold, looming larger, blocking her escape. "Don't be rude. They've come all this way," he teased, fingers twitching like a predator aiming to strike. Thunder cracked like a whip overhead, and Lisa's heart thudded violently. She felt trapped, both physically and mentally, as if every corner of the room closed in, walls screeching with malice. "Emma, stay close," she commanded sharply, urging her daughter forward. The little girl, still lost in sleep, seemed untouched by the dread that enveloped them. The figures at the door, features obscured by darkness, extended twisted hands toward Emma. Lisa gasped, lunging in front of her, a mother's instinct igniting a fire of protective fury. "Back! Get away from her!" A low murmur rose, as if the force of their malignant energy revolved around her words, suffocating her. The figures hesitated, but Mr. Henderson stepped forward, his own face blurring, morphing into something otherworldly. A ghastly grin stretched over a mouth that was too wide, revealing teeth that glinted like knives. "Lisa, please, it won't hurt if you just let it in." His voice slithered through the air, smooth yet repugnant, wrapping around her like a vine. "It'll take you to places you've never even dreamed of." With every passing second, the laughter grew. Each childlike giggle dripped with malice, threatening to drown them both in its chaos. Lisa couldn't understand how something so innocent could sound so perverse. A stream of memories flooded her mind of happy times, family laughter, and feeling safe, each thought a reminder of what she stood to lose. "I won't let you take her," Lisa screamed, her voice shaking, laced with determination. She stepped backwards, eyeing the dark figures inching closer, their intentions unseen but palpably wicked. Each threatening laugh sent tremors through her. Suddenly, a crackling popped in the air, the lights flickering furiously before plunging them into a swathe of darkness. The house groaned, and shadows danced wildly, threatening to swallow her whole. Lisa cursed the darkness, wishing for just a single beam of clarity. In that moment, just before her world turned to pitch, Lisa heard it. A soft, childlike giggle, too familiar, too real. Emma's voice broke through. "Mommy, can I play?" It slithered through her heart like a dagger. "Emma!" The dread welled up, and Lisa turned, reaching for her daughter. But in the blackness, all she grasped was air. "Join us," the figures crooned again, filled with an unsettling eagerness. Lisa's pulse raced. She could feel them closing in, the darkness wrapping around her, whispering promises of forgotten joys blended with terrors she didn't understand. "This isn't real," she screamed, the assertion feeling hollow against the tide of despair. Yet, as she stood in the grip of fear, a question gnawed. What had been awakened outside? And why did her daughter sound so willing to join? Just then, a flicker ignited the room. Light shimmered, illuminating the chilling scene in all its horror. Standing at the door, Emma stared out, her little hands reaching for the shadows, her eyes reflecting a strange longing. "Mommy, please!" Every instinct screamed to pull her back. But as the giggles enveloped them, Lisa faced a palpable choice: her daughter or the dark void waiting to swallow them both. Would she dare to save Emma from an unseen fate? The storm outside rumbled ominously, as if aware of the impending choices to be made. And then it struck her, a deeper terror. What if the figures weren't the only threat at play? What if they had already crossed into a realm beyond her understanding? Suddenly, everything crashed together into chaos: the laughter, the shadows, and the unyielding pull of the unknown. In that moment of hesitation, she knew something terrible loomed in the storm's heart, waiting for her decision. What awaited behind the veil of darkness? What terrors would unravel if she dared to venture into the night? The darkness pressed in around Lisa like a suffocating blanket, distorted shapes aligning against the wall, hungry and expectant. The flickering light had momentarily restored clarity, but it cast monstrous shadows that twisted and turned, elongating as if wanting to consume every breath she took. "Emma!" The name spilled from her lips, raw and desperate. She lunged, arms outstretched, ready to drag her daughter back to safety, away from whatever abyss awaited them. Yet, Emma stood motionless, a puppet dangling on invisible strings, her small features eerily serene amidst the chaos. "Can I play?" The words tumbled from Emma's mouth, innocent yet filled with echoing dread. Each syllable struck Lisa like a blow, the laughter from the shadows intertwining with her daughter's voice. The figures shifted again, their hands reaching, contorting in the candlelight. "No, you can't. You don't know what you're saying," Lisa screamed, dread twisting deep in her gut, a void where hope used to reside. She had to get her away from them, but every movement felt slow, as though the air thickened with each heartbeat, dragging her down. "Mommy, I'm not scared," Emma said. Yet her tone held a disquieting calmness, as if she had already accepted the dark invitation. The shadows wriggled closer, their giggles weaving in and out of sync, their intentions shrouded in a deep malevolence. "Stay with me." Lisa's voice sliced through the air desperately, trembling and sharp. She could feel the warmth of her daughter slipping through her fingers, an ungraspable terror settling in her bones. In that haunting moment, the walls of the house seemed to breathe, inhaling the fear, exhaling unease, demanding a choice. There was nowhere to run. The front door stood ajar, yet beyond it stirred the storm, an untamed beast waiting to devour everything. The laughter became a chorus, shrill yet harmonious, each tune pulling at the seams of Lisa's resolve. Was it a melody of beckoning or a dirge for what she might lose? The flickering candle flickered one last time, casting a shadow that engulfed both mother and daughter. Suddenly, the giggles grew louder, one voice blending into another until they became a single entity, fast and furious. "Join us," it chanted in unison, each voice rising like a wave, engulfing every shred of sanity in its path. Then it hit her: if they wanted Emma to play, there must be something darker hiding beneath the laughter. A sinister game played out with real stakes. "Shut up," Lisa yelled, rage roaring through her as she pushed fear aside, grappling for control. "You don't get to have her." But just as she mustered the strength to charge forward, the door behind Emma slammed shut with a force that rattled the house, reverberating through the air like a gunshot. The long shadows froze, their grotesque forms now outlined by the sudden stillness. The storm roared outside, furious at this interruption, lightning crackling as if the very elements conspired against her. And that moment of silence, Lisa's heart raced, the reality of her circumstances crashing down around her. The figures now stood closer, their malice palpable as they cornered her in this nightmare, eyes glowing with vivid hunger. "Emma!" she cried, but her child was no longer looking at her. Instead, their own little form appeared trance-like, eyes fixated on the shadows, ushering further into unseen depths. It happened in a flash, a twisted smile, children wrapped in darkness, hands beckoning with less innocence than dread. Lisa felt the air thicken, the space stamping down on her as the figures surged, a collective wave of shadows hungry for the light. "No!" she cried, charging forward, battling against the tide that threatened to drag her away. The darkness recoiled at her movement, the energy pulsing and wavering like a distant flame. "Mommy?" Emma's voice trembled, drawing her back like an anchor pulled through a tempest. Lisa felt the draw, twisting the threads of her heart tight. Would she save her daughter from the horror or fall into the void herself? As she reached for her, a blinding flash illuminated the room. For a heartbeat, time froze. Not even the laughter dared to fill the silence. Wide eyes locked onto one another, but the fractured moment shattered as shadows erupted anew. And then, as rings of despair wound tighter around them, a voice echoed through the house, a deep, guttural sound that rolled like thunder. "You will all join us." Lisa's breath quickened, each pulse vibrating with desperation. She stood at the edge of certainty, grasping for her daughter, but the darkness writhed, vanishing any notion of safety. What was lurking in the void? What madness would unfold as the shadows claimed their prize? Bracing for the worst, Lisa knew she might need to confront an unthinkable truth and look into the abyss. In that instant, the storm outside howled, the house trembling, and for Lisa, the boundary between safety and horror blurred, drawing her further into the unknown. In the stillness that followed the thunderous voice, Lisa's heart pounded in her chest. The shadows dispersed ever so slightly, revealing ghastly faces that twisted with malevolent glee. They seemed to shimmer, their forms not quite solid, but murky reflections of darkness that bled away at the edges like ink in water. Her mind raced, thoughts crashing against one another. She couldn't let them take Emma. But what if she was too late? What if the darkness had already stolen her daughter away? Panic surged through her veins, and Lisa lunged forward, fingertips grazing Emma's shoulder. "Emma, look at me." Her voice was hoarse, a weak plea cutting through the clamorous laughter that surrounded them. But Emma remained transfixed, as though a spell had been cast. The shadows leaned in, drawing closer, eager to swallow the child whole. The more Lisa fought against them, the tighter the darkness wrapped around her. "Please," she screamed, her voice cracking. With every ounce of strength left, she pulled Emma towards her. But the shadows responded immediately, pulling back, tightening their grasp. "You have to let her go." The deep voice rumbled again, vibrating through the walls of the house. "She belongs to us now. Never." Rage ignited within her, fueling a desperate courage. Lisa stumbled, hitting the ground hard, but she refused to relent. From her position, she could glimpse flickers of Emma's face still so innocent, molded by confusion. "Mommy, I don't understand." Her daughter's voice drifted like autumn leaves caught in a bitter wind. "No, Emma, listen to me. This isn't a game." Lisa rasped, tears stinging her eyes. She felt the weight of the shadows shift, their laughter morphing into sinister whispers that echoed off the walls. The air grew cold, sending chills racing down her spine as the laughter turned into something darker, more sinister. "Join us, little one. Embrace the shadows. Together we can play forever." The request dripped with temptation, but all Lisa could feel was the icy grip of dread stealing her breath. And then, like a clap of thunder, the shadows exploded into a cacophony of shrieks, retreating momentarily as if startled by her defiance. In that fleeting moment, Lisa surged to her feet, adrenaline flooding her system. "Emma, come on," she shouted, and for a split second, she saw the flicker of recognition in her daughter's eyes, a spark of the girl she knew beneath the layers of darkness. But as she reached out, an unholy cry filled the air. Shadows converged like a storm, swirling and writhing, filling every gap with frigid terror. Lisa struggled but felt her grip weakening, as if the darkness itself was siphoning her strength. "Why can't you see? You are meant to be one of us." The shadows hissed, their voices a discordant melody that sent shivers crawling down her spine. "Stop! I will not lose her." Lisa's words snapped through the heavy tension, resonating with a determined defiance she hadn't known she possessed. She propelled herself forward once more, the world around her blurring, noise fading as instinct took over. Just when she thought she'd succumbed to despair, a light flickered behind her closed eyes, a memory, warm and pure. "I love you, Emma," she barked out, the authenticity of her longing cutting through the icy grip of the shadows. Suddenly, the shadows recoiled as if struck, the laughter faltering. Lisa seized the moment, pulling Emma back toward her, fighting the tidal wave of darkness with all her might. "I won't let them have you." But as Lisa's fingers locked around Emma's wrist, the pull from the shadows doubled. In the confusion, she could feel something tearing at her very soul, a cold grip that stung with ruthless precision. Was this balance tipping? Could darkness truly win? "Mommy, I'm scared," Emma gasped, the innocence rushing back into her voice like a dam bursting. The shadows drew close, and a final wailing shriek echoed around them. "You cannot fight what is destined." With a surge of anguish and strength, Lisa twisted her body, throwing both her weight and hope into the embrace of her daughter. And as they collided with the darkness, the room brightened for a brief, shimmering moment. "What have you done?" The anguished voices erupted, a chorus of wrathful confusion. But the light was fleeting, flickering like a last breath in the wind. As quickly as it appeared, the darkness closed in again, hugging tightly, drawing them into an abyss that felt alive and hungry. And the swirling chaos, Lisa clung to Emma, but the grasp of the shadows was insistent, pulling them apart. Let go. Let go. She could hear her daughter's cries, threading through the dark like a lifeline. Whispers clawed at her mind, tantalizing her with promises of eternal play. But the dim light was still there. She could feel it. Panic surged as she realized they were being drawn towards something pulsating deep in the abyss, alive with a dreadful hunger. A ravenous maw stretched before them, threatening to consume them whole. We must find the way out, she yelled, desperation transforming her voice into a battle cry. But even as she fought against the darkness, the sheer weight of despair pressed down on her, like a hand squeezing the last bit of air from her lungs. And then, through the fog of chaos, the shadows parted, revealing a door thrumming with a low hum, pulsing as if it had a heartbeat. Was this an escape? Was this their salvation or another trap? Come with us, the shadows shrieked in a frantic pitch. You belong to us. Every instinct in her screamed to run, to take Emma and flee into the light. But the door loomed ahead, ominous and inviting. Lisa hesitated. What if it led to freedom? What if it was the endpoint of every nightmare they had faced? She was left with a terrifying decision. Would they dare to open the door? Or would they face the horror waiting at their heels? Which path do we take? Lisa breathed, uncertainty coiling in her gut as the door creaked slowly open, beckoning them forward into unfathomable darkness. What awaited them on the other side? Would they emerge with their souls intact or succumb to the shadows forever? The door swung open, a yawning blackness gaping wide, consuming even the shadows around it. A wave of putrid air rushed out, filled with a scent of decay that made Lisa gag. She steeled herself, holding Emma close, every sinew in her body twisted in fear. The darkness pulsed, almost inviting. Mommy, I don't want to go in there. Emma's voice trembled, pulling at Lisa's heartstrings like a violin under a frantic bow. I know, Emma, but we might not have a choice, Lisa said, forcing courage into her words. Visibility faded as more shadows piled in around them, their freezing tendrils reaching for the little girl, hungry, desperate to reclaim what was once theirs. Each pulse of the door's darkness sent shivers darting down her spine. Not like this, she shouted defiantly, the words ripping from her throat like a spell against the encroaching void. But it felt so futile. With one final act of defiance, Lisa took a step away from the door, her instinct urging her to move towards safety. Before she could reconsider, a brilliant spark ignited deep within her, an idea born out of desperation. Fight for us, Emma. The words burst forth, raw and vibrant, fueled by a mother's love. It was as if the power of her voice cracked the surface tension of despair, shattering the oppressive aura surrounding them. For a fleeting moment, Emma's eyes brightened, just as they had when she baked cookies with her in their sunlit kitchen. I will, her daughter shouted back, voice ringing with newfound strength. The shadows hesitated, recoiling slightly, exposing a thin vein of light dancing in the darkness behind them. It slithered and coiled like a snake, reflective and shimmering, urging them forward. Mommy, let's go, Emma cried, lunging toward the door, breaking free from Lisa's tight grip. Wait, Emma, Lisa screamed, the primal dread clawing at her throat. She could feel the shadows adjusting their grip, a sinister dance coming alive again as they closed in on her daughter. Come back. But the moment was slipping away. Emma dashed forward, disappearing into the door's gaping maw. No, Lisa shrieked, throwing herself into the void after her. She could feel the air swirl around her, as though she were being sucked into the heart of some great beast. The sensation was both liberating and terrifying. Inside, the world transformed into a chaotic swirl of dark colors, swirling like paint on an artist's palette. Lisa reached out blindly. Panic surged as her fingers brushed against something warm and soft. Emma, hold on tight, she yelled, wrapping her arms around Emma, pulling her close. The two surged deeper into the unknown, the very essence of darkness shifting with malevolent impatience around them. But just as they thought they'd found a moment of calm, the air thickened. Shapes morphed out of the dark, figures contorted into grotesque parodies of what they once were. eyes glowing with familiar malice. Each face twisted into a smile, a shared delight in their suffering. "Welcome, little ones," they hissed in harmony, a dreadful symphony that gripped Lisa's chest in icy hands. Terror crashed into Lisa's realization this was a gambit. The shadows had lured them in, using Emma as bait. She felt a shuddering tremor run through her, the walls vibrating with ancestral fear. "Fight! We can't let them win," she urged, desperation leaking into her voice. "Mommy, I'm scared," Emma cried again, her grip tightening around Lisa's waist. "It's okay. Just trust me." Lisa gritted her teeth, lifting her chin as the shadows surged towards them, threatening to tear them apart once more. "Embrace the dark. Let yourself go," they screeched, their voices becoming a cacophony, taut with anticipation. "No." Lisa refused to bend. She drew on every ounce of strength she had left, every glowing memory shared between them, hoping to protect the thread of light flickering in Emma's spirit. But the shadows lunged. The light dimmed, leaving only the terrified cries of a little girl echoing through the hall of despair. The very fabric of their connection was under siege, torn and frayed. Then, in the darkness, she saw it. A flickering beacon, a tiny white light pulsating small but resolute, defying the encroaching gloom. "Emma!" Lisa shouted, pushing against the suffocating blackness, dashing towards the light. But would they reach it before the shadows swallowed them whole? The luminous glow became brighter, a promise of hope that pulled them closer and closer, or would they be lost forever in a place where the darkness reigned supreme? The chase continued, each heartbeat a race against the creeping doom. But as they neared the light, a bone-chilling laughter echoed behind them, sending ice through Lisa's veins. "Not so fast," the voices taunted, weaving through the air like a sinister melody. Would the light save them or become another trick of the shadows? The end was racing toward them, and the thrill of fear escalated to new heights. The light swelled around them, a fragile glow leading the way through the suffocating darkness. Lisa clung to Emma, both of them propelled forward as the echoing laughter faded momentarily. It felt like a heartbeat, a fleeting moment before the next wave of terror crashed down. "Mommy, what is that noise?" Emma whispered, her innocence battling the fear that hung heavily in the air. "It's nothing. Just keep moving," Lisa urged, her voice shaking as dread coiled like a serpent in her stomach. Every instinct screamed for them to run faster, to escape whatever lurked behind them, hungry for their despair. But just as they began to feel the warmth of hope wash over them, something smothered the light, thickening the space around them like a suffocating blanket. The glow flickered, fighting to survive against the oppressive shadows. "Mommy, it's getting darker," Emma whimpered. The laughter returned, colder and darker, wrapping around them like chains. "The light will not save you, little one," it hissed, a taunt that slashed through the fabric of Lisa's courage. "No," she shouted defiantly, forcing herself to pull Emma tighter. "We will make it." They plunged deeper into the night, the surroundings warping into grotesque shapes that lunged at them. Familiar faces twisted into horrific masks, mouth gaping wide in torment, chasing them in their plight. Memories of comfort twisted, transforming into instruments of fear. "Keep your eyes on the light, Emma," Lisa commanded, heart pounding, knowing there was no choice but to push through the darkness. They couldn't let it consume them, not now. As they ran, shadows brushed against Lisa's skin, chilling her to the bone. The darkness whispered secrets, ancient and cruel, filling her mind with doubt. "You know this is futile. You cannot protect her, no," she screamed, shaking her head vehemently, trying to block out the dread. "I won't let you take her." Just as their feet began to falter, the pulsating glow surged one last time, brightening as if sensing their desperation. It was alive, flickering with promise. "Mommy, look," Emma pointed, her small voice cutting through the clamor. The light formed a path, revealing slivers of ground beneath them. They surged forward, drawn closer, their hearts racing. But the laughter morphed into gales of fury, echoing all around them, an orchestra of despair. Shadows writhed, grasping, curling around their trembling ankles. Faster! We can't stop, Lisa urged, her voice hoarse. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shifted as if alive, pulsing with angry energy. A massive form loomed just ahead, a shadow stretching high, a looming figure built from nightmares. The light flickered awkwardly, dancing as the shape reached toward them with claw-like hands, pulsating with a black hunger. No, you one take her, Lisa roared, channeling what remnants of strength she had left. With a final desperate push, she dashed for the light, pulling Emma tight against her. They lunged forward, and just as their fingers grazed the edge of the shimmering glow, a blinding flash erupted, engulfing them. Then darkness enveloped them once more, and silence reigned. Lisa's heart raced as she blinked against the unfathomable void. Something was off. The air was thick with tension, and a prickling sensation crawled up her spine. The oppressive stillness whispered at the edges of her sanity. "Emma?" she whispered, panic clawing at her throat. "Emma!" But no answer came from the child's lips. The shadows had shifted again, molding into a wall of inky black, separating them. The familiar sound of Emma's laughter transformed into taunts, echoing all around her. "Where are you now, Mommy?" Terror slices through Lisa as she spins, searching frantically. "I'm right here," she cries, spinning in circles, desperation morphing into hysteria. But the laughter twisted and turned, spiraling away into the dark corners. As the shadows closed in, it hit her the light was flickering weakly in the distance, one last beacon pleading for them to return. "Emma!" she screamed, the name echoing, reverberating. "I will find you." But with every step, the shadows pressed tightly around her, an unbreakable grip tightening brutally. The malevolent whispers grew louder, its final plea vibrating through Lisa's very core. Let go, join us." And suddenly, just like that, everything went dark again. Did she still have the strength to fight back? Would she ever see Emma's face again? Or had the shadows won? The answer hung, heavy and tantalizing in the air, waiting for its moment to be revealed. Lisa's eyes opened to a chilling emptiness. She was still engulfed in shadow, but now the blanket of darkness felt palpable, an entity of its own, whispering her name with a slithering cadence. "Lisa, Lisa!" The voice slinked around her, saturating the air with an unsettling familiarity. Panic surged through her veins. Where was Emma? "Emma!" she called, but the name fell flat against the swallowing void. The darkness offered no warmth, no comfort, just the suffocating weight of despair pressing down on her chest. With every heartbeat, she fought against the suffocating silence, vision blurring. Suddenly, a shrill shriek pierced through the air, snapping her back to the present. It was Emma. The sound was jagged and raw, a plea that shattered the haunting stillness. The word choked in her throat as the shadows shifted. Was that movement? From deep within the inky blackness, a shape began to coalesce, a twisted amalgamation of limbs and features, flickering in and out like a dying bulb. Lisa took a step back, heart pounding. "Stay away from her," she bellowed, her voice slicing through the oppressive gloom. In defiance, she took another step, clenching her fists. Deep inside, she summoned the courage that flickered like the last remnants of light. The shape slithered closer, its gaze boring into her. Eyes like dying embers blinked back. It wore Emma's face, distorted and warped, a ghastly version mocking her. The realization hit like ice water. This thing was feeding off her fear. Every doubt, every moment of despair, it consumed, becoming more grotesque, more real. "No!" she shouted, shaking her head fiercely. "You're not my daughter." Laughter echoed, chilling her bones. "Why do you deny me? I know your darkest fears. Lisa, I know your secrets." The shadows pulsed, a wicked energy rippling through the air. She staggered backward, desperate to shake off the shivering sensation that wrapped around her mind. "I'm not afraid of you," she yelled, but the defiance felt hollow, the shadows closing in tighter. "Not afraid," the figure whispered, voice infused with venom. "But you are alone. In darkness, all alone. How long until you wish for release? Until you beg to join me?" Each taunt felt like a dagger tightening around her heart. She couldn't let this thing win. Fighting the urge to collapse, she recalled Emma's laughter, the vibrant spark of life her daughter brought to her world. Hope surged within. She clenched her fists and shouted, "I will find her. I will not give in." She bolted toward the flickering light that had reappeared in the distance, a shimmering halo enticing her forward. But the ground trembled violently beneath her, warping like a living creature. Shadows reached out, clawing at her legs, dragging her down. The air grew heavy, almost suffocating, and she felt tears slide down her cheeks. "No, not like this," she cried, fighting against the tendrils clawing at her. The laughter swirled around her, a cacophony of despair, but she wouldn't yield. "Emma," she yelled, a scream born from pure desperation. "I'm coming for you." With a final surge of determination, she surged toward the light, her body fueled by the fierce love for her child. But just as she grasped for the warmth, the light flickered ominously, and she was snatched backward by a cold, iron grip. "The darkness is patient," it hissed, its breath foul and baleful. "You will join us," and then, just like that, it all went black again. Would the light be enough to guide her back? Or would she be lost forever in this eternal nightmare? Lisa's heart thundered in her ears as the darkness swallowed her whole. Cold and unyielding, it wrapped around her like a shroud, cutting her off from any sliver of hope. The grip of the creature tightened around her, suffocating. The laughter twisted into a cruel symphony of mocking whispers, each murmur pulling her deeper into despair. "Do you feel it, Lisa?" The voice taunted, blending into the echoing shadows surrounding her. "The weight of your failure? You'll never see her again." Desperation ignited a fire in her chest. Forcing her feet forward, she fought against the currents of obscurity dragging her down, scrabbling for any sign of light, any reflection of Emma. "You're wrong," she shouted, voice reverberating through the empty expanse. "I will not lose her." Suddenly the shadows shifted. Shapes distorted around her forms of twisted faces, each one warping into a grotesque likeness of Emma, taunting her with familiar features now marred by darkness. Her breath quickened, and she uttered a garbled sob. "Stop, stop. What's the matter, Lisa? Can't face your truth?" One of the shadows leered, the face flickering as if it couldn't maintain its shape. "You're not a worthy mother. You're just lost and alone." "No," Lisa screamed, pushing against the oppressive mass of despair. The darkness constricted, squeezing her tight, but she focused on the memory of her daughter's laughter, the warmth of tiny hands grasping hers. She wouldn't allow this creature to shatter her love. Suddenly, the scene around her trembled, as if the ground itself was waking up. It split open, revealing a deeper abyss beneath. She was teetering on the edge when bright, blinding light erupted from below, washing over her, pulsating like a heartbeat. "Emma!" The name escaped her lips in a ragged gasp, hope flickering like a candle in the storm. She reached for the light, feeling its warmth beckon. But the shadows howled in rage, clawing up from the depths, dragging her backward toward the maw of darkness. "You can't escape. We'll have you. You belong to us." In a desperate act, Lisa gathered every ounce of strength she had left and lunged toward the brightness, her fingers brushing against the edge of it. The heat enveloped her, fighting against the frigid grip of despair. The shadows wailed, furious and desperate, as if they were losing something precious. With a final push, she thrust herself into the light, feeling a jolt of energy surge through her. For a brief moment, she was weightless, suspended in nothingness. Then, she crashed into a reality filled with agonizing sound, a shriek, raw and echoing. It was Emma. "Mom!" The voice sliced through her consciousness, shattering the veil of torment. But the brightness dimmed, flickering, as if it struggled against the shadow's pull. "Emma!" she screamed, the sound tearing from her throat like a wild beast. "Don't leave me. I'm here." As the light dimmed, fragments of her reality began falling away. The ground cracked, shapes contorted, swirling around her. The air thickened, wrapping around her like ice. Just when she thought she could see Emma's face breaking through the dark, it dissipated. She was torn, thrust back between the light and dark, caught in a relentless tug of war. Will you give in? The hissing echoed in her mind, seductive, alluring. You can join her embrace the eternal night. Lisa felt herself slipping, doubt creeping back in. She shook her head, fighting the oppressive shadow. Emma, she breathed, I will find you. I swear it. But deep inside, a question lingered, clawing at her spirit. What if the shadows were right? What if she was too late? And then, with a final agonizing shudder, darkness swallowed her once more. Would the flicker of hope ever light her path again? Or was she doomed to forever chase the shadows? Lisa's heart felt like it was shattering, each beat crashing against the weight of despair. She was engulfed in darkness again, but something had shifted inside. Even as shadows clawed at her, she could feel the light still flickering somewhere. Then, the laughter, the malicious giggles washed over her, and she forced herself to remember Emma. She focused on the warmth of her daughter's embrace, the way Emma's little fingers curled around hers when they read stories at bedtime. That love was her weapon. Emma, she called, her voice steadying. I'm coming for you. There was no space for doubt anymore. Lisa surged forward, determined to reclaim what darkness had tried to steal. The thick shadows twisting around her began to vibrate, as if sensing the strength of her resolve. Leave her alone, she shouted, her voice cutting through the air like a bolt of lightning. She is not yours. The laughter stopped abruptly, replaced by a low, pulsating hum that reverberated through the shadows. Every fiber within Lisa screamed against their pull, but she pressed on, driven by urgency. Emma, searing fear and relentless hope collided within her. I will find you. I will not fail you. Suddenly, a faint silhouette emerged in the gloom. A small figure, arms reaching, face twisted in fear. Lisa felt her breath catch. Emma, she cried, recognizing the fledgling spark of light that surrounded her daughter like a protective halo. With every ounce of strength left, she barreled toward her. The colder shadows recoiled in fear, distorting and writhing, their mocking laughter transforming into shrieks of anger. No, she belongs to us, but this time the darkness wouldn't win. Lisa felt a wave of warmth flood through her as she closed in on Emma, who looked increasingly dim under the weight of shadows trying to snatch her away. Hold on, sweetheart, Lisa yelled, despair mixing with determination. She hurled herself forward, reaching out for Emma. Take my hand. Emma's tiny fingers, trembling yet defiant, latched onto Lisa's with an urgency that pulsed with life. In an instant, Lisa felt a surge of energy swell within them, igniting a spark that fought against the encroaching darkness. As soon as they connected, an explosion of light erupted from their grasp, a blinding brilliance that pushed back the shadows. You cannot have us, they shouted together in unison, a mother's love and a daughter's innocence intertwining, creating a forceful wave against the unseen horrors. The shadows recoiled, their screeches intertwining with fury. You think love can conquer darkness? It cannot. But Lisa was unyielding, filled with the strength forged by hope and determination. With each heartbeat, the glow surrounding them intensified, cascading like a sunrise breaking through a long, dark night. The swirling shadows began to retreat, the air buzzing with what felt like electric freedom. Stay close, Emma. We can make it, Lisa urged, pushing them both forward, hands still intertwined. They dashed through the expanding light, the laughter behind them fading into desperate wails as they approached the threshold of salvation. In one final push, they burst through into the warm embrace of a sun-drenched landscape, their home, radiating with the loving familiarity that had always been there, waiting for them. Sunshine poured into the spaces, filling the room where Lisa now stood trembling and joyous, only feeling the ripples from the storm's wrath linger outside. Mommy, Emma cried, her laughter ringing pure and sweet like a chime. Lisa collapsed to her knees, swept up by relief and unyielding love. You're safe. I found you. She pulled Emma tightly into her embrace, warmth flooding her heart. They were together again, whole and alive. The shadows had been banished, reduced to mere whispers wafting in the wind, as if their darkness was fading back into memory. The storm outside softened, its thunder a faint echo against the newfound warmth. Everything felt lighter, her burdens lifted, her spirit unshackled. With Emma nestled against her, Lisa looked out the window, watching the rain turn to gentle drops, washing away the horrors they had faced together. "We did it, sweetheart," she whispered, her heart swelling with gratitude. "We faced the darkness together and we won." And as they basked in the remnants of sunlight, Lisa knew they could face anything life threw their way. They had each other. That was all that mattered. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss stories crafted with intense emotions like this. Smash that like button now to keep the magic alive, and share the thrill of this ride with others. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories on what you just witnessed. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this epic conclusion. Your support shapes what comes next.